My name is Terry Turner, and welcome to another session on embracing our ancestors. Today, we want to talk about where are our ancestors, and we want to find and look at where they can be found in the Freedmen's Bureau. Freedmen's Bureau was an organization that was established after slavery on March the 3rd, 1865. It was an act established by the United States Congress, and it was entitled the Bureau for the Relief of Freedmen and Refugees. And so when we talk about the Freedmen's Bureau, we're talking about a time during the Reconstruction period. From 1865 to 1872. It was a short period of time where African Americans were assimilated into the American culture for the very first time. But when we talk about the Freedmen's Bureau, we must understand that there were 4 million newly freed African Americans. And in their transition from slavery to freedom, the government had to establish this act so that it could come in and help those who needed help with different aspects of their life in order for survival. And so looking at the Freedmen's Bureau today, I think it's important that we understand that the Freedmen's Bureau had a major task in helping freedmen and women find their families. And so that was a time after the Civil War where African Americans wandered the country, wondering where their lost siblings were, their parents were, and they wandered for years looking for where they might be able to find their relatives. From 1865 to 1872, this act was in place where they recorded the names of people who were looking for their family members in hopes of publishing them and pulling together a multitude of records and hope that they would find matches where they could bring families together again. And the Freedmen's Bureau was a very important aspect of African American life, because during that time when they were trying to pull together families, they also established for African American the ability to get married legally. They also recorded legal suit. Many times landlords would not allow their sharecroppers to get an equal share, and suits would go on in the court. And the Freedmen's Bureau helped recognize the fact that many African Americans were being unjustly treated and came alongside them and worked with them. Freedmen's Bureau was a major tool for helping out African Americans. It even worked with the 40 Acres and a Mule for a period. Never really materialized, but during the time when it was being proposed, the Freedmen's Bureau was doing their best to see that it could happen. And so the Freedmen's Bureau was a great institution. One of the things that I can appreciate personally about the Freedmen's Bureau is I've been able to find one line of my ancestors that helped me to connect with the past tremendously, and that is with my second great maternal grandfather, Peter Alexander. He's found in the Freedmen's Bureau. Peter Alexander always listed on the census that he was born in Virginia, starting 1870, 1880, but he never listed the town that he was from. In the Freedmen's Bureau, it gave us a listing of the town where he was from. It gave us even an account where he had family members looking for him. And it also told us that he was from resident Henrico, Virginia. which was the county there. And then he was from the town or the city of Goochland. And so it gives us a great deal. There are a lot of things that the Freedmen's Bureau, in collecting these records when looking for lost ancestors, that they put together. You could find the name of the plantation. You could find the name of the employer that they may have worked for, even after the Civil War. You could find the complexion and height, and you could even find a date of birth where a person may have been born, and the residence where they were living, what type of occupation they had, and the name of the children, as well as the parents and siblings. And that aspect of it is what's been so great for me, is that I've been able to trace back and be able to find the name of my second great grandfather's siblings and the name of his parents because of this Freedmen's Bureau record. When you think about Peter Alexander and you look at what the Freedmen's Bureau had to offer, you've got to understand that in many of the documents, they were almost unlegible. You couldn't read them in the beginning. They've gone back and they've corrected many of those documents today. I understand that the Freedmen's Bureau has a database. And in that database, they have collected records of all sorts. Lawsuits they've collected. They've collected records of marriages, and there are 11 million documents that have been compiled in this new database that will help you find your family. When you look at this document here on Peter Alexander, it gives you a breakdown of who his family was, his parents, where they were living at before the Civil War, and the name of his siblings. And it just gives a great deal. But the key is you have to be patient. If you're patient, and you really work through the records that the Freedmen's Bureau gives to you, it will reward you. You can find some great things that will help you to pull together, to piece together your family, even before the Civil War and following the Civil War. Peter Alexander had siblings. And that was one of the things that we didn't know about him before finding this Freedmen's Bureau record. And I have to be honest, I never knew there was a Peter Alexander when I started my research. I had heard a little bit about the family. And so being able to pull together documentation that put them all together through the 1870 census as well as through the Freedmen's Bureau was very, very beneficial. This record here is a remake on the left-hand side of the first one you just saw that had all of the yellow highlighting on it. And it breaks down now very clearly. And I believe it's recomposed by the Freedmen's Bureau. And then there were several records that this family issued out. This one was issued out by Charles Alexander, Chaz Alexander, and he also says he was from Goochland, Virginia, there, and born in the same town, the same place, and has the same name for the mother and father, but also lists some siblings. Has a sibling by the name of Peter. Peter was my second great grandfather. Then has two sisters, one by the name of Harriet and the other one by the name of Mariah. Now, the good thing about this is when you look at this, and it's a breakdown here of the siblings of Peter, it helps with understanding that his siblings could possibly be a door to relatives if you ever do a DNA test. Knowing his siblings, knowing who his parents were, DNA can open many doors for you. And that's what it has done for me. It has opened the door, and on this slide, you will see where Peter Alexander is a son of John Alexander on the far right-hand side. But then to the far right, you'll also see where there's a DNA match with me through through lines. Through Lines is an Ancestry.com program that takes trees and matches trees together and will help you to be able to find your DNA match. And so with my DNA and the DNA of MT, and I blotted out all of the last names of these people. I don't know them, I've never met them, and I don't want to expose their name without their permission, but it is my tree, and so I wanted to be able to share it. And so I'm sharing it here today to show you that if you pull together the loose pieces and you look at all that you have accumulated, pulling together records will help you to be able to trace things back and to trace your family back to third, fourth, fifth generations. And the Freedmen's Bureau record in this instance was a great, great resource for helping me to be able to trace my ancestry back to the early 1800s with John Alexander. And so, and then, it's also very interesting that the Alexander names kept rolling on. There are so many John Alexanders that I personally know, but it started in the 1700s with Peter Alexander's dad by the name of John. And when you look at DNA, and later on I'll show you how this DNA has connected me with some people that I never would have dreamed that I was connected through. But it all came to fruition simply because of the Freedmen's Bureau records. And I've been rewarded because I stayed the course, I kept my information in place, and I realized that if I looked in depthly, each document had something to reveal. And so today, that concludes our presentation. Join with me next week as we look at the 1870s census and we break through some brick walls and go over some brick walls, go around some brick walls, or go under some brick walls. Whatever it takes, break through the brick wall. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.